All right, so today I'm going to show you how I'm going to extend the backdrop of this flat lay here. So this was a very basic image highlighting this new recipe notebook of a client of mine. And what I ended up doing, she wanted a marble-like background, but I did not have a background big enough to accommodate her recipe book. So I found two tiles actually at Home Depot, a great find for like $2 a piece. Just put them together and felt like I would just deal with it in post. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of the seam here, and then I'm going to extend the background. I'm going to show you how I go about doing that. So the first thing is I'm going to duplicate the layer, and I like to use keyboard shortcuts, so Command J on a Mac, and that's going to go ahead and duplicate that layer. And then, there's a couple ways you can do this, but what I'm going to try and do first is just actually um, stretching the sides out and seeing how that looks. So I'm going to grab the rectangle marquee tool. I'm going to make a selection around the edge of right here. Once that's done, I'm going to go to Edit, Transform, or actually Free Transform here. And I'm going to grab this handle here. And as I grab that, I'm going to move it. But it's going to scale it when I do that. So I'm going to hold down Shift and just pull it over. And then when I'm done, hit Enter, and then Command D to deselect. So that does a pretty good job, but you can see that it's starting to like warp this a little bit. So what I would do to do that is I'm going to go to Select, Reselect, and then I'm going to hit Command T again. Actually, that's the shortcut for Edit, Free Transform, and I'm just going to stretch this to make it look a little bit more in line with how the marble actually looks. So that looks a little bit better. I'm going to go ahead and stretch it some more. And that looks pretty good. So all I have to do now is worry about this seam line here, which I'm going to use the clone tool. So I'm going to zoom in, and I'm just going to see what I can do for cloning here and see what we get. So right now my brush is a little bit too hard, I'm noticing. So I'm going to back this up. I'm going to Command Z to undo, and I'm going to go to my brush and I'm going to make it pretty soft, and I'm going to go ahead and increase the size because then it's going to like blend a little bit better, but I don't want to run into this book. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually select the area that I'm going to be working in. So I'm doing this, and so that's telling me that it's not going to get any clone on this book. I'm only working within the selected area. So now I'm just going to sort of clone right in, and what I might do is I drop the opacity a little bit so I can kind of brush it in a little bit, see how that looks, and then I might pick another spot, and then here. That looks pretty good. And I'm going to deselect and see how that looks. That looks pretty good. So now I'm going to work on the other side, and I'm going to do the same thing. Actually, you know what? Because there isn't a lot of area to cover here, I'm just going to use my clone tool. I'm going to go ahead and increase the opacity to 100%, and I'm just going to like paint in where I want this to go. And so I'm going to have to probably do it a couple times because of the width. So I'm just sort of extending the backdrop that way, just painting it in. And I like to go in and zoom in and make sure there was no like obvious like weird seams, and that looks pretty good. I'm going to do the same thing over here, make sure that we did a pretty good job. Okay, so that looks good. So now I need to deal with these seams here, and it's pretty similar process. I'm going to select the area I want to work in because again, I don't want to touch this book. So I like to protect the area that I'm working in. And then I'm going to make my brush a little smaller. And then I'm just going to clone, pick an area that I like, and then just go straight up. And because my flow is, actually no, that worked pretty good. So what I'm going to do though is increase this again and see if I can blend this a little bit better. That looks better. And then I'm going to do the same thing here. Select the area. I'm going to make my brush a little bit smaller again. And then just clone an area that looks good. That looks good. Now I need to reselect down here. I'm going to grab my clone tool and go right up from there. Now I'm going to see if there's any obvious like seams. So it looks like you can still see a little bit right there. Maybe a little bit right there. That looks good. A little bit of showing there, so I'm going to just clone that out. And then the last thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to go in and like clean up some of these like little spots. Some of it is actually in the tile. You can hear my dog barking in the background. Some of it's just actually artifact in the tile, but some of it's part just dust, which I didn't do a very good job cleaning the dust off. So that's really all I would do, is finish up really sort of cleaning up the actual image. But so this is what we have before and after. Hopefully that's helpful. I will post more of these, and if you like this, be sure to comment and subscribe.